4-3, 4-3.
Blue 58! Blue 58!
Welcome back, guys, into the now turfed football podcast studio. I am your host, as always, Kieran Drover, and today I'll be talking about one of my absolute favorite prospects in this year's NFL draft, Georgia linebacker Jalon Walker. But first, let me start this with a disclaimer. I do think it is probably unfair to say that Jalon Walker is going to be Micah Parsons at the NFL level. Could he be? Sure. But the same way that people are saying Shedeur Sanders is like Tom Brady, he probably won't win 7 Super Bowls and he probably won't win 3 MVPs. But as prospect, he plays similar to the way that Brady played, a pure pocket passer. Same you see with Joe Burrow, not super athletic, not going to use their legs a whole lot. I feel like the same can be said between Jalon Walker and Micah Parsons. Sure, Jalon Walker might not get double-digit sacks as a rookie, or for 4 straight years after that like Parsons has. But the way that he played in college and his projection as a pass rusher is very similar to the way that Parsons was viewed when he came out of Penn State in 2021. Both players, mostly inside backers in college, Parsons more so than Walker, who did play some more snaps on the defensive line than we saw from Parsons, but I will break down those snap counts in a moment. Both 6'2", 245 pounds, coming out of college, and both very fast, explosive athletes. Parsons ran a 4.39 at the 40-yard dash. That's in the 99th percentile of linebackers coming out of college. I don't know that Walker will eclipse 4.4, but I think he'll be within that range. When I get to the tape in a few moments, he is extremely fast. His closing speed is so good. He's explosive, a super high motor. And again, I think he projects similarly to the way that Parsons did when he came out of college. Breaking down their snap counts, I've got them side by side here. For Walker, 249 snaps on the defensive line. This is a off-ball linebacker first who had 249 snaps on the line of scrimmage. 373 snaps off the ball. He had 193 pass rush snaps. This is all according to PFF. Parsons, 59 defensive line snaps. So like I said, he was more of an off-ball linebacker. His number off the ball was 672 with 94 pass rush snaps. Now, Parsons was on another planet. He was the 11th overall pick, I believe, to the Dallas Cowboys in 2021. He opted out of his junior season due to COVID, similar to what we saw from Jamar Chase at LSU and now with the Cincinnati Bengals. But in 2019, he had 109 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 5 sacks with a 20.7% win rate. Walker, not as many tackles. Like I said, a lot of his snaps were more on the defensive line, specifically as a pass rusher than Parsons, but 60 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks though. In the past 2 seasons, 11.5 total sacks for Jalon Walker. That was one of the best marks in the country. A 17.3% win rate. So already you can see that there are comparisons between the two. They're listed as off-ball linebackers. It's what they play more of the time, but their greatest skill set is as an edge rusher. And similar win rates, of course, similar measurables, both super fast, explosive players. Jalon Walker only played 362 snaps with 0 starts during his first 2 seasons at Georgia. But this year alone, that number jumping to 622 while starting in 11 of the Bulldogs' 14 games, including the SEC championship and the playoffs. So for Walker, I don't even think he's untapped his full potential yet. Do I think that he will become an every down pass rusher like we've seen from Parsons with the Dallas Cowboys? Honestly, I think maybe, but I do think that one of his biggest strengths is his versatility. When I get into the tape, you'll notice that he did so many different things at Georgia. He was not only a pass rusher, but again, an off-the-ball linebacker and a spy as well. They did a lot of third down looks where he would be the quarterback spy and he would mirror the opposing QB. Was really good at that. Just an all-around very talented defensive player. He's from Salisbury, North Carolina. He was the 2020 North Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year in high school. In 2021, he was a recipient for the High School Butkus Award, which He was able to win in 2024. He became the third Georgia Bulldog in history to win the Dick Butkus Award for the nation's most outstanding linebacker. The last two, Nolan Smith, who's now with the Eagles in 2021, had a fantastic year with Philly this year as part of their Super Bowl run, although he did get injured in the wild card game. So unfortunately, we will not see him in the Super Bowl, but he's a very talented linebacker. And then, of course, the resume speaks for itself with Roquan Smith, a multi-time All-Pro. He won that award in 2017. I think for me, one of the things that jumps off the resume of Jalon Walker is his ability to elevate himself in big games. So going through all of them here, starting in 2022, when he wasn't even a full-time starter yet for the Bulldogs, his best game of the season, national championship versus TCU. He recorded his only sack of the year to go along with a season high, 4 pressures. Then in 2023 in the SEC championship, 5 pressures, 2 sacks, despite a loss versus Alabama. This year, this is the game that I'll be breaking down on tape for many different reasons. But he was dominant against Texas in UGA's biggest regular season win of the year. 7 pressures, 3 sacks, 6 run stops in that game. Backed it up in the SEC championship game. 6 pressures, a sack, 3 run stops versus Texas. And then in Georgia's first playoff game versus Notre Dame, another 5 pressures in that game. So you always want your difference makers. If you're going to pick a player in the top 10 to 20 picks of the draft, certainly in the first round, you expect them to be your best players in the biggest moments, in the biggest games. And that's exactly what Jalon Walker was able to do for Georgia, which was incredible. I think that there are some things he could work on. I thought at times against the interior of the line, he wasn't great as a run defender. Don't have a ton of clips of him defending the run from that Texas game that I'll be showing. But I do have one snap where, again, he shows his explosiveness and his speed. He was only penalized 4 times in 3 seasons at Georgia. That was another pro that I wanted to write down and mention. Again, super high motor. I think his ability as a pass rusher is his best skill. But with that said, if there's a team that's going to be able to lean on his versatility and include that in their scheme, I think that'll go a long way for him. Like I said, a very limited starter at Georgia. Over 3 years, he only started 11 games. All of those were this season. So he has not reached his ceiling yet. He has so much potential. And I think that if he is able to get to his ceiling, we will see an every down, every play difference maker in various parts of the field that I personally would take in the top 10 of this draft. Now, in terms of difference making, he did only have 1 takeaway in his career at Georgia. You do want to see your linebackers getting splash plays, whether that's, takeaways, interception, forced fumble. He did have a couple fumble recoveries, but only forced the 1 fumble, no interceptions while he was at Georgia. But 11.5 sacks over the past 2 seasons with only 11 starts and not playing all of his snaps on the edge like we see from players like James Pierce Jr. or Abdul Carter or Mike Green, who are other incredible edge rushers in this draft, I think speaks for itself. So the resume is certainly there for Jalon Walker, and I think the tape is even better. He is a super fun, exciting player to watch who is explosive, quick. I think he plays above his weight class. If he were to be an every down pass rusher, and I'll talk about this later on in the video, I think he might have to put some more weight on. But at 6'2", 245, he absolutely flies around the field. He transfers his speed to his power really well, as you'll see. And, in this game, he absolutely dominates against Texas. Bar none, his biggest game of the year. And as I'll mention, I think the game that really showcased the majority of the skills that I think will translate best for him at the next level. Now, he might not become Micah Parsons, but I certainly think as a prospect, he is a similar type of player to the way Parsons played at Penn State when he came out of college. So without further ado, let's get into the tape. All right, guys, let's finally get into breaking down some of Jalon Walker's tape. I decided to go with his first game against Texas this season, not only because it was his most dominant performance, but I thought that it was the best game in terms of showing his skill set and the skills that I believe are his best in terms of the translation to the next level being the NFL. In this game, he had 3 sacks, was all over the field, and played a very versatile role for Georgia's defense. I think that at the next level, part of him transitioning into a difference maker from day one will be dependent on the scheme that he plays in. So obviously a great head coach, great defensive coordinator. Hopefully we'll be able to lean into that versatility, that athleticism that he brings to the table. In this first play, he's going to be the spy in this odd mirror look from the Georgia defense, which we saw them do quite a few times this season, particularly on third downs. And a few times in this game, I have a couple of clips that I will show you, but odd mirror is odd, right? So 3 pass rushers as opposed to 4. And Walker, as you can see with the yellow marker here, is going to show that he's pass rushing, but then drop and sit at the line of scrimmage and mirror the movements of the opposing QB. Good thing about odd mirror is you can play any coverage behind it. In this case, George is playing a 2-man, but you can run other sorts of different coverages. I've seen the Bills run it with cover 3, etc. But check out this play here. So he shows that he's rushing number 11 in white, Jalon Walker, and then he's just going to match whatever he sees from Quinn Ewers. Now, what first stands out, at least to me, and I think will to you as well about his tape, is that he's extremely explosive. I mentioned him being only 245 pounds, which may be slightly undersized for an every down pass rusher, and I think that if he becomes that in the NFL, that he might have to put on some weight. But I also believe he plays above his weight class. But at 245 pounds, he's incredibly fast, a very explosive first step, and you can see it here. As soon as Ewers ducks out to his left, he's on him, chasing him down. Great play call there. And not only is Walker able to force an incompletion, but shut down Ewers from potentially scrambling and picking up yardage with his legs. But again, just super fast, super explosive. And on that play, the closing speed to just shut down Ewers in a hurry. This next play here isn't a sack. It's not necessarily a super quick win. But the left tackle for Texas this season is Kelvin Banks Jr., and he is probably going to be a top 10 to 15 pick in this year's draft. Now, he might shift to guard. That's what some people believe, because he has shorter arms than you would see in a prototypical NFL left tackle. But nonetheless, he was a great player for the Texas Longhorns, and to be quite honest, he looks silly on this play. Jalon Walker, again, yellow marker on the right edge, takes the chip from the running back, gets his hands on Banks first, and just ragdolls him into the turf. Honestly, he has 3 sacks in this game and made a number of other plays. That is my favorite rep. And again, playing above his weight class. I think that he has an ability to, which is an important ability in the NFL, we see it from a lot of the best pass rushers, to transfer speed to power. He does that there. He's able to throw Kelvin Banks into the turf, and you will see it quite a few more times. On to this next play here. This is the only snap I recorded of him from a run defense standpoint. He's playing off the ball here, which we have not seen yet in the first couple of clips. And he's just going to run blitz around the left edge. I think at the next level, he needs to be a better downhill run defender. I think he struggles at times with his gap integrity and also taking on bigger blocks on the interior of the line or a pulling guard. But on this play, he's left untouched on his run blitz. And again, just super fast, super explosive. And once he recognizes the play, he's able to close so quickly. And this, he's right there. And there's a hole there for that running back. And he comes in from behind and scoops him right up. Just a really good play from Walker. Now, this play here is one of 2 coverage snaps I have from him in the game. I think that's another element, if he was to continue to be an off-ball linebacker as much as he was at Georgia in the NFL, that he might have to improve on. But I thought this was a really good rep. His responsibility here is just to release off the line of scrimmage and just take the most inside release from this bunch formation for the Longhorns to the field side. That's exactly what he does. Isaiah Bond, number 7 for Texas, runs that shallow drive. It's a very quick route, but he's able to flip his hips and follow him across the middle of the field. Ewers gets hammered on a creeper pressure from the boundary side. A Georgia DB who disguised it beautifully. But if you wanted to get that ball off super quick over the middle to that shallow drive or drag route or whatever you want to call it, to Bond, Jalon Walker is right there. Really liked that rep. Something I still would like to see him improve on is his coverage, but I thought that was a nice play there. Here you're going to see his first sack of the game. And again, it's against the left tackle, Kelvin Banks Jr. It's not a super quick win rep per se, but I think there's another good example of him transferring speed to power. He's able to push Banks back into Ewers and then use his good arm length, which is another bonus of his, to wrap up Ewers when he tries to escape. Not much of a chip from the running back there. And again, just an incredibly high motor, super fun player. He's going to celebrate that one too for good reason. Okay, on to the next one. This, again, is a pass rush rep, and another one of my favorites because after he got the sack on Kelvin Banks Jr., or against him on Ewers early in the game, here's the adjustment from Texas. Now he's lined up on the strong side of the formation. They have a tight end there. The running back couldn't get the chip. Okay, tight end should now block, then release into his route. Well, that's not as easy as it sounds against Jalon Walker. Look at him sidestep the tight end there, and then again, long arm, that Longhorn left tackle, Kelvin Banks Jr., push him right back in, collapse the pocket on Ewers, and when he tries to step up, use his length to wrap him up. But look at that sidestep. That's beautiful. Such a fun player to watch. I've said it over and over, one of my favorite players in this year's draft, especially on the defensive side of the ball. This next play, he's going to be a free rusher. And let me tell you, if you are a quarterback and you see Jalon Walker as a free rusher, look out. Arch Manning tries the shimmy shake, little pump fake with the shoulders, but credit to Walker. I think it's really hard in this situation to not be faked out by the pump fake. You are suddenly a free rusher because Texas slides its protection to the left and you are completely unblocked off their right edge. I think it would be really easy to get faked out here, right? You're coming downhill at an explosive speed and you see that pump fake, but he doesn't. He does not get baited out by this. He stays in the throwing lane and then, again, quick closing speed, and Arch just got to throw it away. I thought that was a really good rep as well. Super fluid mover. Really liked that play too. Now, this one is going to be that odd mirror look once again. He started off the ball as opposed to on the line of scrimmage, but again, same play. Manning tries to escape to his right. Not going to happen. Just so quick. Look at him when he recognizes that Manning is going to his right, and look at how quickly he's able to get there. The speed, the closing speed is so good, so elite with him. I mentioned it before we got into the tape that I expect him to run a pretty fast 40-yard dash at the combine. I think if he has a really, really good combine day and he does run in the 4.4s, especially low 4.4s, which I think he has the potential for, he probably won't escape the top 10 picks. There's already a lot of mocks that have him going in the top 10 picks. I think he'd be a lock for that if he were to run a low 4.4. And now the last play, this to me was one of his smartest reps in this game. Early on in the game, I thought he got fooled by some misdirection. Similar motion to this on a run play for Texas, and he was late recognizing it and late spilling over the top. It ended up being a third level run for Texas that Malachi Starks had to make a play on, the other first round pick from this defense, because, you know, they always have a boatload of those in Georgia. But on this play, he wasn't fooled. So you're going to see the number 2 receiver to the right of the screen is going to have that motion. Then they're going to fake the play action there. You already have the tight end to the right side of the formation. Everything here is screaming run. And the point of this motion, as I watch it play out here, or as you watch it play out here, is to try to manipulate the second level of the defense. Get Jalon Walker to bite to his left because everything's going that way. And then have the tight end leak out across the other side of the field. Jalon Walker recognizes it, does a really, really good job of picking that up. And you can see Quinn's eyes here. I'll try to slow it down just enough. But you can see Quinn's eyes here. Boom. He wants to throw that over the middle of the field to the tight end. Jalon Walker, though, really, really good job of picking that up. Quinn ends up making a great play to the backside dig. Nice throw, good pocket awareness. But just, in my opinion, one of the best smart reps of the game. I think that Walker does need to improve his play recognition in the NFL. He does have limited starting experience at Georgia, so I think that just more reps will go a long way for him. Again, a really good head coach, defensive coordinator will go a long way for him. But, I mean, watching this tape, how could you not be excited for this kind of a prospect? Well, guys, that is just about it for me. The Micah Parsons to Jalon Walker comparisons, I think, are well worthy. I think he's an incredible prospect, but don't just take those comparisons from me, please. For as much as I think I know a lot about the game, I think Jalon Walker knows a little bit more than I do.
Maybe not who you watch the most, but who do you try to model your game after? Who inspired you in pass rush?
Right. I don't know. I think, like, recently, just because Micah Parsons is just popping, I was everybody. I'll walk across the field and be like, oh, there's Micah Parsons. Like,
if you guys like today's video, please try your best to like, subscribe, or follow me on X at Turfed NFL. It would go a long way for someone just starting out. I hope to be making more of these videos as much as I can every week. Hopefully, I'll be releasing a new one every Friday or Saturday. I appreciate everyone who watches, who leaves a like, who leaves a comment. I encourage it. I'd love to talk with you guys in the comments about who your favorite prospects are, or really about anything going on in the NFL or the NFL draft. That would be much appreciated. So thank you, everybody, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.